What's going on, Internet? Baltmatrix here, and today we are taking a look at third-party master-made Destruction Scorpion. Now, I have this guy in Scorpion mode first because this is my favorite mode of the figure. I think it is the best mode. The figure is packaged in robot mode, and it also does have a base mode, but I am very partial to the Scorpion mode. The overall detailing of the figure is quite good, and it's big, it's heavy, it's well detailed, and it honestly feels like something out of the Horizon video game. If you aren't familiar with that video game, that is a PS4 exclusive game that came out maybe February of 2017 and has giant robotic dinosaurs and other animals in it. And this really feels like it belongs in that game. I really like the look of it. The overall feel of the figure is pretty good, and the construction is okay. There are some major problems with the figure, but we will get into that later. I just want to show off some of the posability here in Scorpion mode. Head is posable. Graspers or pincers are fully posable. Legs are posable. Tail is most definitely posable and has a couple of different little movements in it. The tail can be posed and moved around quite a bit. The actual edge of the pincer or stinger has some movement. Then all of these little red pieces can be opened or closed along the stinger, which is a very nice touch. Overall, very, very posable figure. I could see folks getting a hold of this and kit bashing it to heck and beyond, because there's a lot of fun things that could be done with this figure. Unfortunately, some of them aren't really all that easy to do, given some problems with it. We'll get into that once we get into the robot mode. The figure also comes with its own little headmaster. It's very nicely detailed, but it is loose as all heck in the ball joints and in the hip. I mean, there's no force I'm putting on this thing, and it just swivels like nobody's business. I'm not sure what to do about that. I've already tried applying just a little bit of Pledge floor polish to the hip, and it actually made it slicker. So there is that. The overall look of the little dude is pretty cool, and he does transform into the face of Destruction Scorpion. So that transformation is actually not too complex, which pretty much just involves flipping his feet around, flipping his hips around, flipping the feet up, and that's it. That's all there is to it. Destruction Scorpion also comes with these additional little scorpions that attach to the pincers to form better hands in robot mode. Each little scorpion sports a stinger, which is actually a gun that can be wielded in base and in robot mode in different parts of the body, and each one has its own little pincer, but they don't open and close, unfortunately. The detailing on each scorpion is fan-freaking-tastic, and they really feel very, very cool. I think this is just an absolutely fantastic addition. We're going to go ahead and get into the base mode first, and the reason I'm doing that is I want to save the robot mode for last. So to start the base mode, we have to turn the figure around, grab the rear section of the scorpion, and split it apart, or at least split it apart so much so that we can get the tail, which is connected to this giant gray section, out, so we can flip it out, forward, peg it down, and then stick the tail straight up. Then we will want to take the scorpion arms and kind of point them up to the sky just a little bit. Now, while in scorpion mode, I forgot that I had a little bit of a mistake in transformation. See, there are these ratchets here that work as elbows in the robot mode, but when you go to scorpion mode, things get turned around a little bit, so it doesn't quite line up the way you want it to. So we just kind of bend that down and point these fingers straight up. And then we also turn the tail around 180 degrees and point that straight up. And then we grab one of our little scorpion buddies, pull the gun out, flip the gun plug around to form another plug, point the pincers straight up, and this will peg into this little peg hole up here, like that. And then we can collapse the legs. And the last thing we're going to do is unpeg the scorpion feet from the back which is a little bit difficult to do, and then swing these whole section of the scorpion feet forward to form what can best be described as, well, I'm not even sure what you would call this, a gateway or an arch system. This is pretty much it for the base mode. The only extra thing that you could do is to take the cannons that were in the butts of the other scorpions and peg them into these openings right here that originally had cannons, which I moved to the sides. This mode also only utilizes one of the scorpions. You've got a whole other scorpion here just sitting off to the side. The base mode isn't so much a base mode as it is a... I don't even know what this mode would be. Is it supposed to be a throne of some sort? I don't get it. I understand what they're going for, but I don't think it works at all. And it's such a pain in the butt to get this figure into the base mode to begin with. It's just not fun, and it's also really annoying to deal with. So now we're going to go ahead and get him into robot mode, and I have to preface this up front. You're going to hear a lot of complaining from me in this part because there are some serious problems with this figure when getting it into robot mode or just transforming it in general that you didn't see when we went from Scorpion to base mode. So let's get into it. To start off with, we're going to come down to the legs and straighten them out. And as you saw me pick this up, you probably saw the first problem. The hips, the swivels or hinges here in the hips are not anywhere near strong enough to deal with the die-cast metal that's in the legs. And they just slide and slip around as they please, and becomes very, very, very frustrating when trying to transform this into any of the modes. For the feet, we then have to straighten out the ankles here, which again is rather annoying because some parts get in the way of other parts if you're not careful. So if you don't get the knee all the way up out of the way, this part here that is the back of the leg that collapses so that you can fold the feet all the way down will rub up against it and will get in its way. All right, so we've stood the figure up. Congratulations to us. Now take the entire torso and rotate it 180 degrees at the tail, and then grab the upper torso just above the tail joint and rotate that 180 degrees. But you can't because things get in the way. So you have to extend the tail all the way out, flip the legs all the way up, the scorpion legs that is, and rotate the section all the way around like this. Now, another point of contention. These swivels have a tendency to move on their own very easily. They don't stay in place all that well. So that's another problem that is annoying. Then we can fold the scorpion legs back down and flip them around like this. So flip them back down, rotate them around, and get them out of the way. And I just broke it off again. So this joint up here, where the scorpion legs peg in, the scorpion ball joints are okay. It's these gray sections that have a tendency to pop apart. Now you can leave the sections up like that, or you can unpeg them and then flip them around like this and have them kind of rest on its back like that. Either way works. There really isn't a preferred way, though the directions have it so that the legs kind of rest like this, and then the tail flips up and pegs into place up here. Then you turn it around so that it can sit above the robot's head like that. And coming to the front of the robot, we can then bring the shoulders down in alignment, turn the head cavity around and open up his helmet. And point of contention number 3 is getting this guy in here is a royal pain, because if things aren't perfectly lined up, there are actually a couple of different spots to peg in, which I'll zoom in here. You see there is a peg here, which needs to be straightened by your finger, clasps here, and then a whole peg section here, which pegs into the figure's crotch. Oh, and the visor has a tendency to pop off but that goes back on to the helmet very easily. So we then have to kind of wiggle this thing into place and pray that the figure gods are smiling upon us as we try to crotch thrust the little mini Zarkon into the cavity. And while I'm trying to do this, those loose hips swivels keep pushing the figure back like that. Now that the face is attached, we're going to go ahead and give him some more fingers. Take one of your scorpions, take the little peg where the gun was plugged in, and make sure that the peg is pointing down. Plug it in to this section on the top of the hands, and then just fold the legs here down. Then we take the finger, or the pincers, and fold them down to form fingers. And we do that on both sides. And of course, before I showed you that, I forgot to do something. So you want to take the red sections, flip them 180 degrees. Actually, I'd say more like almost 360 around, and take the back pincers, put them together, or back feet, put them together, and then flip them around like that. So you have some clearance for the fingers here. And then the thumb, which you can then pose. So we'll do that again on this side. Take your little bug, take the rear legs, put them together, then peg it in right before or right after you flip up these red sections, which have a tendency to pop off. Don't be alarmed, they just pop right back on. Get everything lined up, put it back into place, screw it up, and then peg it back in for another pass. Get the white pieces out of the way, get that together, push those gray pieces down, and then give him some more fingers, like so, and a thumb. And here we have Destruction Scorpion, which he looks fantastic. He looks absolutely great. The coloring is perfect. The overall aesthetic of the figure is great. And I've got to admit, that head sculpt is really, really good, even if it's an annoying headmaster. Overall, the figure looks fantastic as long as you don't ever try to pose it. So he does have a tremendous amount of weight here in the back thanks to the scorpion tail and the backpack. The legs fold up pretty nicely. I think they could fold up a little bit better if there was another joint, but then the other modes wouldn't work. You do have to be careful of the very, very loose swivels there, which threaten to make the figure fall. Overall, the look of the figure is great, but I don't think he's put together very well at all. Yes, he has ratchet joints in the shoulders, and the swivels, and in the fists, and that's it in the arms. So he can pose the arms pretty well. But as you saw, I just went to try and move the shoulder, and instead the entire figure falls back because I think these are supposed to be ratchets, but they're not at all. So I don't know. It's really hard to, get him to stand up straight, even though he's got a lot of posability. He's got nice knees, he's got nice ankles, he's got decent posability, but he's so top heavy and the hip joints are so weak, he can't pose correctly. So what's the point of him having posability if he can't even pose well? Conundrums. I do like the figure, I do, but that's a major issue. You also end up with these two guns, which you could just find some holes somewhere and plug them in. Now, the other issue I have with the figure is, yet again, he's supposed to have lights. They don't work. This is now the second Master-Made figure that I own that comes with lights that don't work. I even have the battery installed correctly. I've tried the battery installation 2 different ways. Thanks to Vangelis, by the way, for pointing out to try something else with the leads here. Doesn't work at all. I've been through 4 batteries at this point, and I've confirmed that the batteries work in other devices / figures. Heck, my Diabolus Rex, the lights do work, and I've tested these batteries in that figure, and they work just fine. So, overall, would I recommend this figure? Only pick this up if you have to have it, and only get it if it's on sale. For the price, I don't think this is a good figure. At $60, Yeah, sure, go ahead. Be sure to maybe add a little bit of floor polish to the hips here, but otherwise, it looks great in robot mode. It looks pretty darn good in Scorpion mode. Base mode sucks. I'm sorry. I just think the base mode is terrible. But you might not. So there is that. So gang, thank you for watching this video review. As always, I am Baltmatrix. Ask you to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you next time.